name is A.O.D. You need a banana? Good, because I need it for my digestion. So hello, my name is Damon, I'm here in the next country, and why don't we take a guess? I'm red, I'm rashy, I'm irritated. Oh right, that could be any country. No, for real, I'm in Bali. I thought I'd do a Q&A advice column, because everybody knows that as soon as someone steps down in Bali, they're just like automatically more enlightened than everybody else. That's it, let's go. Mary J is in the spot tonight, and I'ma make you feel alright. Tell me you know that one. At least one of the two. What was the question? So what's the question? What's the question? What's the question? Question number 1. Why don't you go to Asia? Well... Where do you see yourself living and building a family? I feel like what I'm gonna say is controversial to most people, but I don't find it controversial at all. Number 1, let me just say this, like lately I've been like, oh, I could have a kid. Right? Like what? Where'd that come from? No, I've just been like seeing these like 2-year-olds and I'm like, oh, they're like actually funny people who haven't been like fully humanized. Like they're just like little creatures running around. So they don't have any like filters. And so I think that's philosophically really interesting because they haven't learned, they haven't like been indoctrinated by school. They haven't like learned to become normal yet. So they're just fine with like blurting things out. Now the controversial part. I was watching Her the other night, and there was a line like that I've been resonating with more and more. With each year that passes, you have lived another experience, and there are less experiences that you can have for the first time. So really your life becomes you repeating things. All of your firsts are like gone because you've experienced them. Although it's like not, you haven't experienced everything in the world, so I don't know why we would even say that. What he says in Her is like, I'm afraid that I've already felt everything I'm going to feel, and since it was the first time I was feeling it, that was the strongest of the emotions that I'm gonna feel, so everything else is just like a bootleg copy, like a duplicate that is less interesting because I had already felt it. So I don't know, I really like that part in the movie Her. The way it ties into the kid thing is because I'm like, well, I haven't had a kid yet. So that was controversial thought number 1. Controversial thought number 2 is like, I'm just not having a kid till I can have help. I'm sorry. I don't know why what's acceptable is that it's okay for parents to give up 18 years of their life, like night and day, for this child. Let's throw in controversial thought number 3. I would even say, because I grew up in Indiana where it's literally just like a cycle every 20 years. You grow up in Indiana, you hit like 18 to 24, and I think most people have children because 1, like sex ed isn't a thing, so they just have sex. 2, most people are Christian. I don't know how it is now. I mean, with social media, I feel like people are becoming less and less religious. But when I was in school, everyone was Christian. Everyone went to church. I noticed a pattern where people would get married at like 18. Was it not just to have sex? Because you couldn't have sex until marriage. So, okay, you get married really young, then you can have sex. But then people didn't really know how to have sex because there was no sex ed. Then they have a baby. So, again, like I'm hitting a lot of points right here, but the life cycle starts over every 20 years, and I think that's unfair because the human, like the person who is having a child at 18 hasn't recognized their potential. I say this because, yeah, it seems like every 20 years is when like people in Indiana like have a baby. Like most people have a baby at like 20, 21, 22, and then their kid has a baby at 21, 22, and it's almost like, not that your life is over when you have a kid, like I don't believe that at all. I have a friend who had a kid at like 19 and she's living her best life, but I'm just saying it, in general, it seems like the parent that you can offer your child is only as like deep a parent as you have figured out yourself, like deep a person as you have figured out yourself. So if you haven't allowed yourself to go backpacking through Europe or like to have a really dramatic but really exciting career change, then those are stories that you can't like teach your child about. Like in a way, I am stifling myself and I'm stifling my child's upbringing by not granting myself independence. I mean, again, you do what you gotta do. Not only am I like allowing myself to grow and be a better father, it's the first time I've ever talked about this on my channel, but also I will have more resources to then afford help, to then offer an even better father. It's like this child better be president. So if I just wait till I can afford help, well then that child's gonna grow up even better because I'm not gonna feel resentful towards my kid for taking my life away. In fact, I think that's how I grew up. My mom was always saying, look, Damon, I wasn't put on earth here to entertain you. And I'm like, no, but you're right. Like, your role is to be your own person in your life. Yes, you're my mom. Yes, you're gonna take care of me. Like, I'm not worried about that. I'm saying this because I don't think having a kid should completely take up the parents 24 hours a day. I don't think that's right. I don't think that's cool. And yes, a baby might require that, but that's why I'm telling you straight up right now, I'm not having a kid till I have help, because I'm not willing to give up my time like that. Damon, please shed light on what you do. Oh, when you feel lost. Right now, I'm in a period of my life when I don't know where to go from here, and I feel completely lost. Mid-20s is no fun. So I always approach this from. It's funny because it's like, who am I to say? Who am I to answer all these things? Maybe you just are curious about my opinion. Okay. See, I approach it from this angle. Why do you think other people aren't lost? I'm somebody who has a YouTube channel, traveling the world, doing my thing. I still feel lost, and everyone that I meet also feels lost. So I don't even approach it from this angle like, I'm the one who's so lost, and like, I'm the one. I've just accepted that that's how most people feel, and the ones who don't feel lost are the ones who either, I don't know, don't have like the mental capability to ask themselves like these deep questions, or they've just managed to convince themselves that like they're happy with the trajectory of where their life's going, right? Okay. But most of us don't know. Sorry, there's like a bug in like every corner of my body right now. Like, you should feel lost. There's nowhere to go or to be. Like, how could you not feel lost with all the options, especially nowadays? Like, with the internet, you could see literally everything that's out there. Everything. Everything. You could walk on Google Earth right now in Malaysia. You could look for jobs in Hong Kong. You could, like, all my reference points are Asia right now. You can log on to TikTok right now and find some dude flipping a house and feeling like you are so far behind. Yeah, there are a million things you could be doing right now. The question is, what do you actually care to do? What do you want to do? What do you want to do? Now, this is not something that previous generations had to deal with because they didn't have the internet where they could look up every last thing. So they didn't have this, like, they didn't even know that there were all these choices to make. So I would say, I understand you. I would say you have more information than you think you have. Like, you're in a period where you don't know where to go from here. I feel completely lost. But it's like, well, you do kind of know which direction you want to go. Maybe you're confused because you don't like that direction anymore, which is okay. All right, cool. Let me give you an example. When I was in Paris, my first semester, I was having a terrible time. I didn't enjoy it. Of course, now when I look back, I'm like, well, that's just because I was approaching the experience from, like, just me still having my American preferences when I could approach the whole experience from like a French person who grew up there and who preferred that lifestyle to mine. So anyways, I didn't like Paris. I didn't like France. I wanted to go back to New York. I felt like my life was so slow. I called my mom and I was like, I think I'm going to go back to New York, but I almost feel like a failure because I set out to do a year and now I'm cutting it down to a semester. Now I feel like I feel like I didn't keep my word. And she was like, but no, Damon, you did exactly what you needed to do. This is like what it's all about. Like, you go places, you see if you like it or not, or you like your path or not. And then if you don't, then it's not a failure. It's more a success because you know that you have more information than you had previously. So there is no, looking at it as a failure is just, it's just like, get a grip, people, because you're not, it was never a failure. It gave you more information that you didn't have before, so you actually profited already. Being perceived as annoying. So, number one, you are. Number two, everybody is. So it's not just you, it's that everyone is actually annoying to other people because you can't not be. Look, I've gotten to the point where I've realized the reason I've been speaking my mind more on this is because that's what's fair. That's literally just fair to myself. And everyone else should also be voicing their opinions in the same way. Like, that's how we grow as a society and at humanity, by connecting on ideas and also being open enough to allow each other to say controversial things, because that challenges the status quo that we have inherited from previous generations. Like, this is a duty of each person on Earth. By you not voicing your opinions or saying the jokes you think are funny, you are in a way perpetuating what is considered normal and thus like not annoying. When I was researching for my book, I was reading a lot about collectivist and individualist cultures. Individualist cultures are ones like the United States where we really value like be yourself, wear whatever you want, express yourself, follow your dreams, be you, do you. It's all about like you. And there's like no real mention of like your family and your friends. It's like really just like honor everything you want to do in life. Then you go to further east, or really any culture that where religion is like one of the top values, and doing you all the time is like a harder thing to do. Because there's a lot more pressure from your family on who you date, who you marry, who you associate with, the clothes you wear. I mean, this is why Americans go abroad and we're loud as fuck, because we're all about like self-expression. Or why a lot of Asian cultures appear more timid to us, because they aren't from an individualist culture where it's all about like standing out. It's not about standing out there. The values in an individualist culture are like self-expression, doing everything you want in life, valuing your independence. Top values in like a collectivist culture are community, your friends and family, like how everyone's getting along, maybe your religion, not like standing out from the crowd, but rather blending in because the ideals or the traditions have already been set, so why are you trying to create your own? Like, just respect the ones that are already here. Anyways, I was doing my research and there was a guy, super individualist, it was like pro-individualism, and he was saying that society as a whole, community as a whole, will benefit the greatest when everybody does acknowledge what they want to do, because there's less resentment towards other people. There's no like, I'm holding you back. And so if we allow everyone to flourish and to express themselves, then the world would be a more beautiful place. So back to Angela being perceived as annoying, it's like, well, you're gonna be annoying, but then you're also not gonna be annoying to other people. And by you allowing your like annoying side to dominate the non-annoying side, you're like, again, doing a disservice to yourself. And because you're doing a disservice to yourself, you're doing a disservice to the greater community as a whole. She's just like, I'm trying to not be annoying. Imposter syndrome! Let's give it up! I've been to the fashion weeks, and I've been to the influencer parties, and I've been here and I did that. The thing you realize is that bitches ain't shits. They're not smarter than you. They're not cooler than you. They're not as fun as you. Right? I mean, you've been to many. They're totally normal people. And then you're like, oh wait, I thought you guys were supposed to be like the creme de la creme. Let me tell you about another philosopher. What's his name? Proust? Michel Proust? Michel Proust wrote a long-ass book, like over 1,000 pages. And in one of his volumes called Swann's Way, he talks about this dude who was obsessed with like the high societies and aristocracy, and he works his way up, and he actually gets there. And once he gets there, Marcel Proust, exactly. He ends up getting to the highest societies, and he is disillusioned with it because what he thought was going to be like the next level of his life, he actually realized that the people were concerned more with like their appearances and more with these like artificial, superficial things, and that where all the fun was happening was actually back down with like the not the lower class, Jesus. Yes, the lower class, the working classes and the middle classes actually understood life more, because they were more about like family and friends, and it was less about appearing like you were having fun and more just about having fun. But it's a mistake for all of us to think that like the people at Fashion Week are the ones who are succeeding the most. Yeah, I think imposter syndrome is like for you to think that other people have something greater than you have is the mistake. And yes, maybe you're at a conference and you're so enamored by the speaker. That's because they've trained themselves in speaking. But you probably know something a lot more in another area. So yes, maybe the rich person knows business well. Great, you know how to do money, but that's just money. I know how to do art over here. So the artist wouldn't put the rich person on a pedestal because the artist understands like I have skills too. They just don't make me tons of money, but they do bring me lots of joy in this other area. So two different skills, and not everyone is concerned about money like that.
No, but it's so true. And one thing that is so, this is in short supply, people that are fun. People that go to a party in those influencers parties and where everybody looks so cool and they actually have fun and they're not snobby and
it's rare.
Yeah, it's so rare. In the rich environments where everybody has money, everybody has resources, the fun people are rare.
I actually don't even think they're boring. I think they think that they have to play this role in those places that no one actually likes.
Yes.
What do you see yourself doing in 5, 10, 20 years? Yeah, I like that question because I feel you know when like things feel easy for you and like you get excited about doing, like spending days doing certain things. So lately, the thing that's been like really exciting me is like building out my courses. I have so many courses that I want to film. So right now I just have language courses, and I'm realistic. Like not everyone wants to learn French. Like not everyone wants to learn Spanish. But I've always wanted to do a travel course, like how to do frequent flyer points, and like what is the lounge like? Do I even need to go? What are the pros? What are the cons? What credit card do you use? What phone plans are the best? What happens if you need to go to the doctor abroad? Like I need to make that. I've always had like a motivation course that I want to film. I have tons of courses that I want to film, and then I have a million upgrades for my French courses and my Spanish courses. Like I need to hire tutors. People should be able to book tutors through me, like Damon approved tutors that Damon used, or language retreats. I should be partnering with language schools in Paris, so after someone reaches like the level where they top out of my course and they need a French native speaker, then they should be able to go to Paris. Like I should have host families, million ideas. So I see myself building out my courses. And then aside from that, like again, I've seen bigger things for this. This is like after the book tour, I realized there is a community here of people who want to connect. And so I don't know, I need some community feature where you guys can connect. And I was thinking even on my newsletter, like the one thing that holds people back is that they have a rent to pay. It's like a fucking trap. And so if people were able to swap their apartment with someone in London, then that would allow them to travel a lot more. And so why don't I do these things on my newsletter? Like, and don't get me wrong, it's all gonna happen. So right now I'm in my video phase. But as soon as I like wrap up, I think I'm gonna do like a few more videos and then wrap up the season and then go focus on that stuff and then come back. But I can't do both because it's just a lot of work. Planning a move to Spain, how do you keep connected to your family? Does it bother you being far? I want to talk about this one thing. Did I talk about it in my book? I think it was one of these, in my book, there's a question that's like, are you from a big or small family? And again, I like couldn't write more because just word limits and page limits. The point of the question, though, was it is a lot easier for somebody to go gallivant around the world, like myself, when I know that my family has each other back home. For me, it doesn't bother me as much because I have a massive family. So when we have Thanksgiving and I'm not there, it's almost like no one notices because there's 50 other people there. Now, if it were just me and my mom, and then I'm not home for Thanksgiving, and then she's all alone, or it's just her with my brother, yeah, that's going to be harder. That's going to take a harder toll. So I would say, so these are like trick questions. Damon seems to do it just fine. It's like, well, you guys, I have a huge-ass family, and they're all there. And they also have understood, and this is a beautiful thing about my family, I think, super mature, I think I already said it, that they know that I can't be at my fullest potential there. And so instead of having it be this like super, I was gonna say selfish, but I don't want to offend anybody, but super selfish, like we need you to be here because we are a family and you need to be here, but they know that I'd be happy. That doesn't work in my family. This goes back to somewhere else in this video where we're talking about individualist and collectivist cultures. So there is no resentment towards each other in my family, and that's a great thing. As a general tip, I think people are forgetting that even if they move somewhere, you're just a flight away or a train away. Even if you're all the way in Bali and you got to go to Indiana, you are still going to see your family. This isn't over. You're going to still see your family, and in fact, this is an opportunity for them to come visit you. And how much more interesting would that make your relationship with your family? Like, seeing them out of their comfort zone? This is a growth mindset, baby. Look, it's not about you missing them. This is a new opportunity for you guys to connect. It's time. Like, when my mom came to Paris, she was like, wow. It was really cute. I, like, planned it so that when she saw the Eiffel Tower for the first time, we would, like, round this corner and then it would be right there. And I didn't tell her where we were going. And she did it, and she literally gasped. She went, and that was a really beautiful moment because it was something that she had like read about and seen in movies, and then she was able to see it. We would have never been able to have that moment if I stayed in Fort Wayne, Indiana, or if I always had to go visit her. Like, that's what I'm saying. It's actually a beautiful thing because I was able to see a more like human side of my mom. What's been the most rewarding, disappointing part post-book release? So the most rewarding part is that literally every day, every single day, somebody mentions me on Instagram saying like, oh my God, I found your book here in this bookstore, or they got their book copy. That's exciting because it tells me that it worked. It all works. Like, it's exciting. Like, my book is in some bookstores around the world. That's amazing. Like, from Madrid to Istanbul to Bangkok. Like, that's really freaking cool. What's disappointing is that it's not lucrative at all. I'll tell you this, every so often my book publisher reaches out and they're like, oh, are you gonna do another round of promo? And I'm like, are you gonna do another round of like my royalties? But if you're expecting me to push it out every day of my life, I want to, in the sense that like I stand by the book, but I have other things that I also stand by that I do get all the revenue. You see what I'm saying? It's not even that it's disappointing. It's just like, well, let's be clear about how we're going to make the book sell. It's not gonna be coming from me. That's your guys' job if you're taking the whole royalty. I still want my book to sell, but it's your job. It's your job. I'm doing what I could do. I'm creating videos around the world that get people interested in a book, so that if they see it in a bookstore, they would buy it. But it's your job to get in the bookstore. It's my job to do this. That being said, I always knew it wasn't like a money grab. I knew that the money was not going to come from that. Somebody's able to find my book in Dublin, sit down at a coffee shop and just like read my thoughts. Like, attention is very scarce these days, so to be able to command somebody's attention is actually a beautiful thing. Something I've learned in the past year or two about myself is that if I'm in a group setting and there's a disagreement, I tend to try to be like the diplomat, like make everyone a little bit happier or feel better. I'm not going to challenge everyone's beliefs in that setting. And so the reason I like making videos or I like writing books is because people have to shut the fuck up. And so that's why I like saying what I have to say in these, because I can finally speak uninterrupted. I just moved from the USA to Europe for a few years. Do you get homesick? How do you deal with homesickness and missing friends and family back home? Now, this is what I always feel like. You don't just have homesickness and that's the end of it, and that's just like a condition you have to, suck it up and get through. Your homesickness is clearly telling you something. Now, if you're only in this place for a day or a week, then I would say give it some time. But if you're like still in Europe, oh wait, I've just moved from Europe for a few, wait, hold on. I just moved from the USA to Europe for a few years. Yeah. So I would say you gotta give it like 3 to 6 months. Get your routine going, seeing if you're liking the place. If at that point you're still homesick, then it's time to make a change. It's time for you to go back to the place you came from. Because then it'll put into perspective your new place. Like, oh wait, maybe I actually don't miss these friends. It seems like life hasn't changed much. In fact, my mom would always tell me when I'd come back, Damon, New Haven doesn't have anything for you. It's nothing much has changed here. Stay over there. And I always thought that was like a really mature thing to say. I think my mom ultimately wanted me to be happy, and so she knew that me being back in the States meant that I wasn't gonna be fully happy. So she had to like remove herself and her own personal desires for like my well-being. Like Carol Harder for president. It's time for you to go back and start comparing your old situation with your new situation. No matter what you do, you are already a changed person because you lived abroad. And so my only fear is that you'll go home and realize, damn, like I actually did have it good. And this is what's stupid about being human, because you never, don't it always seem to go that you don't know what you got till it's gone. You don't know what you got till it's gone. It's like, again, stupid. Like, why can't I just realize everything I have when I have it? Sometimes you need to go back to that place. Every time I go back to Indiana, I remember why. I'm finding life overwhelming. How do you calm your brain? So, I like this one. If you notice, every human... I can't ever just answer these questions, you guys. I have noticed a pattern in every human being, and each person has this pattern in their own way. We're all looking for the next dopamine hit. We're constantly looking for distractions or the next dopamine hit to take us away from this moment, which has everything. I'm pretty good right now. I feel good. Your moment right here has everything. So we as humans are looking for this next dopamine hit, but the next dopamine hit and the next dopamine hit, these are just fleeting things. Dopamine hits all around, trying to distract us from our own peace. So I'm finding life overwhelming. How do you calm your brain? You calm your brain by realizing that everything that's overwhelming you are just dopamine hits. When you could be like, got you, brain. I'm gonna go back to my peace now. That's the greatest power, baby. What's the best way in your learned experience to get around It's not even what the thing says. To get rid of your material possessions and move to a new place. Okay, this you see how happy I got? I love when people are in this phase of like, nope, getting rid of it, let's go. Nope, don't need it, let's go. That is one of the most powerful places you could be in a world that's constantly trying to get you to buy stuff and to keep up with all these external things. Okay, so the angle is more like getting rid of specifically sentimental things. Now, here's my opinion. Obviously, like, this is a Q&A. All right, so what's important is that you remember the memory that the thing, the physical object, is supposed to be trying to get you to remember. Think of it like this. If we were to meet and you tell me your name, and then we meet, and this happens all the time, I'm sorry. And then 2 months later, you're like, hey, la la, we already met. Like, remember my name? What do you think my name is? I'll be like, I don't know your name. I just don't. And sometimes a lot of people get offended when people don't remember their names. And I always am like, what's important is that I remember who you are. Not that I remember your name. Your name doesn't, like, ça change rien. Your name could be Susan and it could be Sarandon. And it doesn't matter which of the two it is. What matters is that I remember who you are. Like, the name is just a label. I think of it that way with objects, too. I have been given many things in my life that have sentimental value, and the trap is that we cherish the thing when we're supposed to be cherishing what the thing represents. You might have to give away a ring, but you still have the memory, which was the whole point in the first place. And now it's so easy to take a photo of it. There you go. I told you, each one of these questions has, like, these questions. My answers have layers here. Think of it this way. Like, do you miss any of the apartments that you were in previously? Maybe now that you're thinking about it, but before I even asked you, you probably haven't even thought about your last apartment. But when you were leaving that apartment, you're like, I'm gonna miss this so much. No, you're not. You're not even gonna be thinking about it. So I would say, get rid of it. Throw it out. I mean, the whole fact that you even want to get rid of it now, but you're too hesitant, should tell you that it's like time to get rid of it, because if you were happy with it being there, then you wouldn't have that question in the first place, right? I was just telling my friend Iwana, we were doing this like business scaling thing. Sounds so corporate. Basically, like, what are the areas, like, what are the things I just can't get done on my own? And then she would step in and be like, all right, well, let's do it together. And then it makes it so much easier, because it's like, oh, well, my friend's here helping me out. Okay, let's do it, because it's fun. And she had something. Wait, I was just talking about you. I said something to you, like, clearly you're not fully happy with this, or else you wouldn't have been, that wouldn't have been a question in the first place.
Correct.
Okay, that was like something, I was trying to tie it in.
Yes.
This person wants to get rid of material goods, but they feel they're too sentimental. And I was like, well, it already kind of says everything, that you have the question that you kind of want to get rid of it. So it's not doing what it's supposed to be doing, so you might as well just get rid of it at that point.
You gotta make a change if this is not working.
Look at that. She's in her bikini. She's at the pool. What do you do when future consumes all the, can't do anything? So the fear of the future is, the future doesn't exist, you guys. It doesn't exist. The future will come as the present moment. This is the future already of yesterday and of 10 days ago. We are in the future. So your fear of the future is, it's a hallucination. The future doesn't exist yet. I feel like most people are operating their life like this. This is the timeline. You're here. This is the start. This is like present moment. And you're like, the fear of the future. Okay. Fear of the future. You're thinking that the future already exists and you're like on a boat, like just working your way through it. We might get all like religious and spiritual, depending on if I don't know, this is the age-old question, like, are we actually in control of our future, or has the future been planned? I don't know. I don't think it has. I think we're here in the present. We're just here in the present, and you're going to create your future. So fear of future comes all-consuming. It's your choice. In fact, it's your choice. And whichever way you choose will be the way that their future pans out and develops. There are no wrong decisions, because the other decision doesn't even exist. Who said it? I don't remember anybody's fucking name. Life begins at a decision. Some philosopher said that. I don't remember anybody who said anything. Life begins at a decision. The decision you make, over here, is the right one, because that was the only one to make. So what's your question? What to do when fear of future becomes so all-consuming that you can't do anything? You act. You move. You do something. You just gotta start moving. In fact, when I start editing these videos, this one's like not that crazy of an edit. I just start moving things around. Or when I start cleaning, I'm like, all right, I have a 17 thing rule. I move 17 things. Literally, 17. And then after 17, you're like, okay, then now half the room's clean. Do 17 things. Let's just call it 17. When I'm designing something, you just start clicking. Everything's a test. You have to start testing things out. Just choose something. And then it can get really exciting. It shouldn't be like anxiety ridden. It should be empowering that, oh shit, I get to choose? I get to choose where I go to the restaurant after this? That's not like a chore or a task. That's like, I get to choose. That's cool. People are constantly trying to distract themselves from the freedom that they have. People are constantly trying to distract themselves from the freedom that they have. What I mean by this is that you can do anything you want right now. You think that you can't because, I don't know, your past or like you have a mom. No, you can literally still do. No matter what is happening. You can attempt to do. You can't do everything, but you can attempt to do it. So if you can go, I can literally like find a skydiving class and go right now. I can go flirt with this random person over here if I want to. I can start a YouTube channel right now. Instead, what most people do is come up with excuses on why they can't do things. In philosophical terms, they would call this bad faith. You're acting like there's something greater than you, which is the reason why you can't do things. But thinking in this way that like, oh, I can't do this because this is super convenient because you don't have to do anything. It's easy. It's easy to lie to ourselves on why we can't do things. Okay, let's use a real example. What's something I'm saying I can't do right now? Yeah, okay. I'm launching a new website for my courses for back to school season, and it's just something that I can't get done. I just said it right now, naturally. I can't get it done. But I can get it done. Like, I'm thinking that I need to hire somebody else, put this thing in place before I can actually move on it. That's false. There are plenty of things I could be doing right now. I'm lying to myself because it's easy, because then that just tells myself that I don't have to do it right now. Which is not true. I'm acting in bad faith. This should be empowering though, because you can realize like there are two people in your head right now, and one is the one that's in the fucking way. The other one is the mosquito on my forehead. The other one is your true self, who can do everything, who has the freedom, and you gotta kick Lumpy Lumperson out the door. It should be empowering because once you kick that person out the door, you're like, oh, I actually can. What do I want to do? All right, what do I want to do today? Maybe freedom's not the best word to use to describe this, because I think when people hear freedom, they're like, I'm free. It's more like you're free to make choices in your life. And what I'm talking about is choices. So you are free to choose what you want to do with your life. You could go be a clown for the rest of you already are. You already are. Michaela says, not wanting to be in a serious relationship in your 20s, but scared that the dating pool gets worse with time. So this shouldn't be the fair. It's fair. I get you. You're thinking that like all the good catches will be gone. They're not going to be gone because you're a good catch and you're still there. So like that's proof, you guys. Because if you're still single, that must mean that you've prioritized other things in your life that have brought you success or that brought you happiness. Or the dating pool should not get worse with time. It should get better with time, because as people get older, they get more interesting because they've lived more experiences. So I would say that the dating pool is probably getting more interesting. But with that, we have more like parameters on like who is a good catch. You see, it's not that the dating pool gets worse, it's that we have now created more parameters because we have more opinions because we've lived life more. So, what I would say is like, you should realize that, I guess what I'd say is like, and I'm gonna have to go through this too, everybody can teach you something, so we're gonna have to chill and cool it with all these rules that we got about all these other people. Like mine for forever was I can't date Americans. Like I'm such a person who's into the world that me dating someone from my own country it's like the antithesis of everything I'm trying to prove. But now I think I've spent my 20s like exploring so much that me being with an American is like actually the most exotic thing. But in your 20, like, okay, I'm trying not to tell this example because I don't want to like out this person. I'm gonna be very vague right now. I have two friends. We're all friends. I'm friends with this person, I'm friends with this person, and then all of a sudden, these people started hanging out. And I was like, I would have never paired you guys together. Like this, to me, this makes no sense. Like you guys have different personalities, like, are you even laughing together? The thing that clicked to me was that I'm about 8 years older than these people, And it got me thinking, like, well, that's something I did when I was in my early 20s. If somebody asked me if I wanted to go get coffee when I was 23, I'd be like, yeah, let's go get a coffee. Now I'm like, but based on, like, our humor and our personalities, we're not a match. I'm saying in your 20s, you just, like, kind of fill your time. Maybe it's because we're just so used to being around other people that, like, actually being alone doesn't feel as good. Like, you know, you go to high school, then you're in college, then you're in your work. You're just constantly around people. You do everything you can do to not be alone. I don't know. And then as you get older, you, like, get more comfortable with being alone. And that makes it somewhat harder to allow someone in your space. Like, you gotta really be a good catch for me to give up my solitude to hang out with you. And the same goes for you with me. I have to really be a good catch for you to be okay, to give up your time. After traveling so much, do you ever fear you will run out of places to go and then what to do? Not that we need to bring up existential dread even more, but this is the thing that really starts freaking me out because, like, you start realizing that the world is a lot smaller than you thought. Almost like you kind of, I don't want to say I'm trapped. I'm trapped on planet Earth. Wait, did I tell you guys? There's a Reddit forum called Escaping Prison Planet. Sorry. No, but it's so good. We gotta talk about this.
Spiritually. Physically.
Well, yes. That it is a punishment by whoever's controlling the universe to put humanity on Earth because of gravity makes it so that even when we jump, we're back on Earth. This is how it's getting with my travels. I touched down in Indonesia and I'm like, oh, this is like Thailand. Now, obviously, because we're in Southeast Asia, there's a similar culture, but it's a trap. If I start thinking that just because the country's in the same region that it's like, has to be a similar experience. Indonesia is not Thailand. Feels on having permanent rent somewhere but being always traveling. So this was my next business thing. I'm like, rent is a trap, but we need our house. We need our apartment, right? Like, I know I've done the living out of a suitcase thing, and the part that gets exhausting is that you never, like, your life doesn't feel complete ever. The number one expense that you have is your rent. This is what I'm trying to create, you guys. I have an audience of people who want to travel. You want to travel, but the rent's getting in the way. Okay, so let's swap these. Let's get someone from Paris to swap with someone from New York. Y'all stay in each other's apartments. That's a great thing that just happened. Everyone's happier. Like, this is a service that I can provide. I just need to build it out. There's somebody out there listening to this who hears me and is like, Damon, you got a lot of great ideas. I understand the execution. There's only so many hours in a day. I can help you execute that because I know this platform and I know that if you use the monthly plan, it's cheaper than the... Yeah, you're my person. So this whole life is about indulgence thing.
D?
What?
You said this thing to me the other day about indulgence, but you said don't repress it because then it's gonna come back.
Right. Yeah, I think what I was saying for Iwana, she was like, okay, sorry, I'm not gonna put that in. I have a friend.
Iwana's trying to stay away from McDonald's.
Iwana's trying to stay away from McDonald's, but Burger King is right there. And she tells herself, okay, I'm just never gonna go to Burger King. And I'm not gonna go to cities that have Burger Kings, and I'm not going to even watch a Burger King ad. But what she's doing, in my eyes, is that she needs to kill this gecko up here.
Those are birds.
Oh, those are birds?
Yeah.
Okay, but what she's doing is actually giving so much power to Burger King by restraining herself from it. I would say gay culture wouldn't be so sex-focused if in the past gay people were actually allowed to love each other, be together. That wasn't the case, so it pushed a group of society towards being more sex-focused because that was the only thing that they were allowed to do. I mean, they weren't even allowed to do that. But being sex-focused, I mean, if you found the privacy of a room, that was like the one thing you could do. But being, I don't know, holding hands at the cafe, you weren't allowed to do that. Or, I mean, geez, even till, it's probably, been less than a decade that you could even get married in the States? So I'd say I totally understand why gay culture's so sex-focused. I mean, even today, in gay clubs in Paris, there are dark rooms. A dark room is like, honestly, it's productive. It's efficient. I've been in them. Like, you meet somebody on the dance floor, and you're like, I don't really like need to have sex. Like, we don't need to have sex, or maybe we do, but like, I got something to do tomorrow morning, so you would go to the dark room. I get why gay clubs have dark rooms. Gay clubs have dark rooms because dark rooms were the place where gay men would go. They would have to go there. They wouldn't just go there for fun. You had to. Okay? So gay culture being too sex focused is the product of what everybody made gay people do. Gay people are not the ones to fault here for being too sex focused. Society did that. Fault. Yeah, the other thing is like there's no risk of pregnancy, which I think would naturally lead people to just have more sex, to give in. There's no surprise that's going to come from this. Maybe in the form of an STI or whatever you had, what have you. Also, I think the gay community has become very sex positive because since they couldn't be together forever, I keep saying they as if I'm not a part of it. And I think that's why today a lot of gay people are more okay with polyamory. And I think it's due to the fact that for decades and decades we've seen like, okay, I can have sex with multiple people and it doesn't affect how I feel about this person or this person. Do you feel you're finally feeling the effects of never being completely settled? I feel a bit removed in most situations. I feel this. I get it. To put it shortly, it's like this. Your friend group should be people not only with whom you have shared a past, but with whom you share a future. And sometimes you can categorize your friends into the two. These are the friends that, okay, we have like a shared vision of the future. Like we want to travel the world. We might want kids. Maybe we want to do a whole career 180. Then you have friends where you're like, oh, okay, I think we're just friends because we went to high school together. I think we're just friends because, I don't know, we like took that yoga class in Bali one time. And that's fine. You can like you have friends for everything. But knowing which friends you're friends with and for what reasons, I think is important. So I think this is a good example of some way I feel like I'm not fully settled and like it kind of pisses me off sometimes. Like when I was just back in Paris, I was at the gym and I ran into 2 different friends who didn't even know each other. And I didn't really went to my gym. So that was cool that like here we are in our city and like these are kind of like nightlife friends, but I ran into them. And so I like that there's like even if I'm home alone in my apartment, I know that like my friends, like there are people in my city that I know and that I like and that I can go get a drink with if I really need to. I know that our friendships could blossom if I just stayed my ass in Paris. But I'm more the one at fault here because I'm always the one leaving. So I always, again, put this into perspective that like, if I really wanted that, I would stay. But there's something in me that clearly wants to go travel. And if I had stayed, then there would still be something missing. So in my eyes, there's always going to be something that you could have done or like another like alternate reality really that could be happening. But again, this is what I'm going back. It goes back to the choice thing. You make a choice and then you go with it. And you understand that no matter what choice you make, there's gonna be some caveat. Like some clause that's like, but you might miss out here. It's like, okay, well, I'm willing to take that. But there are sacrifices you make for all the 99% of the happiness that traveling brings you. If I stayed my ass at home, yes, I might have more of a community, but there would be a part of me that's like, but what about everyone else who I want to meet? What about having an adventure over there? I already feel the effects of my travels in my 20s because I feel like I have less FOMO in life. Like no matter what happens, if I succeed, if I fail, I also know deep down like I did what I wanted to do, which was travel the world, and that brings me peace. So now everything else is just a bonus. Have you ever considered another way of traveling which would be slower and more eco-friendly? I'm actually glad that someone asked this because I've been trying to find a way to work it in. So first off, my ex and all of his friends are super écolo. In fact, most French people are. Like France is let me just explain a few things. France cut all domestic flights. So much so where like, I think right now as they're easing people in, like you can fly Paris to Marseille. But like if you're from a small, like you can't be doing no Atlanta to Chicago. You can't do that because you take the train because it's more eco-friendly. So like they're on that level of shit. The counter argument is that airlines are like, oh, but we're not gonna miss out on all this revenue that we used to have, so we'll just like redo our route. European countries are so close. Basically what French airlines are doing, instead of flying domestic in France, they'll just like reroute to the nearest airport outside of France. So the plane is still being taken, it's just that it's not being taken in Paris. But you will still be able to get home if you live in Toulouse and you need to connect. You won't be able to connect in Paris anymore. You'll have to connect in like Madrid. So what's good about this is that France is actually trying to make shit happen. What's bad is that people are just going to do what they want anyway. So Again, politics. I understand that I take the airplane a lot more than most people, but I'm vegan, which is super environmentally friendly. All of my clothes are secondhand. All of my furniture is secondhand. All things considered, when you compare me to somebody else, I'm doing a good job. I'm of the opinion, though, that it's 2023. Before we can get mad at everyone for taking an airplane, we should be getting mad at the airplane for not being eco-friendly in the first place. Before getting mad at someone for drinking a bottle of water, let's get mad at all the countries who don't have clean drinking water yet, who, like, you have to drink bottled water. Like, this would help a lot more, I think, than, I don't know, not saying you're doing this, but like shaming me for traveling and then me not getting the like cultural awareness that I'm able to provide in these videos. Like, it's all worth something at the end of the day. I see this all the time though in social media and politics, that people take it out on people when they should be taking it out on industry. Like, think about the hotels right now that have, they ain't got anybody in those rooms, but they got the AC on, they got all the lights on. Say I use the shampoo, this much of the shampoo, they're gonna throw the shampoo bottle out. There's a lot of waste. I would say I'm on y'all's side. Like, I agree. When I'm in a country and they have the AC on in the store, but then the door's wide open, that pisses me off.
Look at my plastic bottle.
I know, plastic bottle haul. Anything you learned from another culture, country that you loved and incorporated in your own life, the first thing that comes to mind is just like the medicine that I naturally go to now. Like here in Thailand, wow. Here in Bali, Indonesia, it was interesting because the first week I arrived, I was literally red and rashy. So I go to the pharmacy, she gives me a calendula cream and she's like, if this natural cream doesn't work in 4 days, come back and we'll give you like a toxic cream. A week goes by and it cleared it up. Then I get Bali belly. And I go to the same pharmacy and she's like, oh, here's a charcoal tablet. If it still persists, then yeah, maybe we'll give you, I don't know, something like clog it up. We'll give you something poisonous, okay? I just like that approach, and I've noticed it all around the world. When I go to Brazil and I had a sore throat, they gave me propolis, which is like bee pollen. It seems like they're more willing, well, let's say this, they're less influenced by Big Pharma. I feel like Big Pharma in the United States has succeeded so well that now if I were to give someone in my family bee propolis or calendula cream or charcoal tablets, my family would laugh at me. When that is what's natural, it's like we should all be trying what's natural first. The same goes for like fast food. Like, it's now a joke to eat healthy in certain parts of the world. Like, it's something to be made fun of. Again, when I go home, my my family says I eat rabbit food, which is like kind of true. But it's like we've been so influenced to think that medicine, like you have to go for the hardcore stuff, which is what like hurts your body the most, actually. You should be using all the natural stuff. Then when you have something serious, you go for the hard stuff because then it'll really be potent. So I think that's something I've really learned and like really enjoyed learning about when I travel. Like, what is the local remedies that they use? How do you manage traveling so much yet still maintaining strong relationships with friends and family? So I always compare our current situation to how people used to travel. Now, we have it so easy. We almost have no excuse anymore because we can FaceTime. Yesterday was my mom and dad's birthday. Yes, they have the same birthday. I bought them flowers, and then in the 8 hours I was sleeping, those flowers were delivered because there's an 11-hour time difference from Indonesia to Indiana, and they were able to get flowers on their birthday from their son who's in Indonesia 11 hours ahead. Not only that, but then I can FaceTime them right now, and we could still laugh and stay connected. Not only that, I don't even have to FaceTime them because I can turn on Instagram and see what they're doing right now. Maintaining strong relationships, like let's put this into perspective, everybody. If this were 2011 when I started traveling, you could call your friends and family and it's gonna cost you probably $10. You could still talk to them, but it was harder. In a way, this is like, kind of makes me sad that nowadays we're too connected because it takes away this foreignness of traveling. When it was 2011 and I was 20, that was a different like age of travel because you would travel and like you had to be present because you couldn't contact people from home or see what they were doing, and they couldn't even see what you were doing. And also it wasn't really, no one was posting on social media, so there was no real reason to like flex. You really had to be there because you cared about the place. It wasn't about going there to take a picture to impress everyone back home. You know, it was, I don't know, it was like a different era of travel. Now you can go places and it's just a lot more comfortable. Really, I can look up on my phone like, what do I want right now? I want like a chocolate smoothie with protein. I could find it and go. So it's not all bad, but I would say just let's put it into perspective. Like, you can still maintain amazing relationships with friends and family because you can talk to them all day long. I do. Wait, is the fruit out there? Is the fruit? Or she's bringing it? It's here? Okay. Sorry. Did she get my fruit? Alright, y'all, if you have any thoughts on everything that was mentioned in this video, I feel like I went in this video. Please leave your comments below because I'm always curious. I read the comments all the time. I'll see you in the next video. It'll be here in Bali. And this might be interesting for you guys. I don't know where I'm going after Bali. I don't know. I haven't really decided. Okay, that's a lie. I bought a ticket to Singapore just so when I came into Bali, they wouldn't ask me questions about my leave date. But that was just like, I bought the cheapest ticket from Bali so that I could like just get into the country. I don't know if I'm actually gonna go to Singapore. Maybe I will. All right, what's in Singapore? Tell me what's in Singapore. Why not? I haven't been to Singapore. Let's go to Singapore. Okay, bye.